Okay, so it's recording now. Okay, so first of all, inoculant. So we typically think of the term inoculant when we're kind of talking about it, when we're planning and stuff. We talk about inoculant and we kind of mean something else, but the actual definition of inoculant is to introduce something new. And that means whether you're putting it on the seed, whether you're applying it beside the seed, it's just putting something onto the seed that wasn't already there. And then another definition that you might run into would be symbiotic. And this is a relationship where two things kind of benefit from each other. It's kind of like you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours kind of thing. So those are some definitions that we'll encounter as we go through this. So we'll start with the traditional rhizobia-based inoculants. These are the inoculants that we put on our pulses for nitrogen fixation. Pretty much what it is, it's a bacteria. It forms this symbiotic relationship with our pulse plants. And what the rhizobia do is they fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and they convert it into a plant available form. And so pretty much they infect the plant roots, they give the plant nitrogen, and in exchange the plant gives them sugar. Products will differ on how they handle, but there are also different strains that are out there. And these strains are specific towards efficiency as far as nitrogen fixation. So how good are they at fixing nitrogen, and also how well they're going to survive in our soils. These are pretty much the basic of the inoculants. They're the ones that we've probably been using for the longest. And this will include products like just the traditional nodulator, Celtec. And then there's a new one actually out right now that we've just started selling, and it's called Lalimon Lalfix. And this product is really, really nice to handle. We kind of started to look for something because guys were having problems with either or product, depending on their drill, depending on the humidity, things like that. And so we've kind of started to play with this Lalimon product as well. I was lucky enough to have a field test with it this year with actually 2 different people. These are the results from the farm near Viceroy, Saskatchewan. Pretty much what we saw was the handability of it was really, really nice. It was very lightweight. There wasn't any bridging or anything like that. And we found that the mobility of this specific rhizobia strain was really nice in the soil. It kind of nodulated more throughout the root as opposed to congregating right at the top. We didn't really see any yield differences in the products, so it was very comparable to the competitor products that are out there. And so if you are having handability issues and you're looking for that single strain rhizobia, this could be a good product for you. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. The next thing that you're going to see is something called LCO. Pretty much what this is when a plant needs nitrogen, it releases a protein to kind of tell the rhizobia, hey, I need some nitrogen. Can you come over here? And pretty much the rhizobia then send a signal back to the plant to say, here I come, start creating nodules. And that's the LCO molecule. So pretty much what they do is they put this into inoculants so that you can have earlier nodulation. You don't need to wait for that process to happen. It's kind of already telling the plant, hey, get ready for me, here I am. And so you'll see that in products like Optimize or Tag Team LCO. So that's what the LCO molecule is. Any questions on that? Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit more complex ideas. So the first one that we'll start with is the Penicillium species. So this is fungus that grows alongside the roots, and what it does is it releases the acidic compounds. And what this acidic compound is supposed to do is it will reduce the pH that's around the roots. At higher pHs, which usually happens with calcium, the presence of calcium, you'll see a lot of tie-up of nutrients like phosphorus or zinc, which are really important for early season growth, good root development. And so by lowering the pH around the root environment, you're going to see that phosphorus and zinc are going to become a lot more available just because it's not going to be tied up to the calcium. And so this is in products like Jumpstart. You can get that on canola. You can get that on pretty much all crops now. And then they also have it in this in Tag Team LCO, and they also have it in a new product called Bionic, which I'm going to talk about later, but I just kind of wanted to show you where you'll find these. Does anybody have any questions on that one? Because we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, another type of bacteria that you're going to see is Bacillus bacteria. This one is really talked about and really used in the industry. Pretty much the main feature of it is nutrient acquisition, and this comes from root enhancement. And so pretty much what you're expecting to see is that you'll see kind of more fibrous roots. This kind of helps your plant to get through stress by just having more access to moisture, more access to nutrients. It has a really nice relationship with rhizobia as well. I've been kind of playing with this product in a lot of different forms, and that's kind of one of the main things that I've seen from it is that nodulation is really improved with the addition of this Bacillus species. It also kind of has disease suppression activity as well. However, I wouldn't necessarily rely on that as opposed to a seed treatment, just because it's not really proven on the specific diseases that we're worried about. And you'll see this in products like the Agriflora soil, which is just a straight Bacillus product. You'll also see the new Bionic product that I'm going to talk about. It's in Quick Roots, which is kind of an older product. And then it's actually the Duo in Nodulator Duo. So there's Nodulator and then there's Nodulator Duo. And the Duo is because there's the addition of this Bacillus species as well. So I did do some trial work with this year as well. I used the Agriflora because it was the straight Bacillus product and I wanted to see kind of the effect of just the Bacillus. I had it treated on durum and lentils, and we actually replicated this field test throughout a lot of different cargills throughout the province. But I'm just going to talk about the durum because I thought that it really responded well to it. So this is kind of in the earlier stages. As you can see, the treated side is kind of getting a little bit more roots. And then throughout the growing season, it started to show a lot more effects of it. And then this was after we initially applied it on the seed, and then we actually sprayed it on at herbicide time as well. And so the roots were really, really impressive. I was really pumped about the product. In the end, I'm not entirely sure what data ended up being, but I kind of just wanted to watch what it does on the roots more than anything. And it did pretty good. I thought it was pretty showy. When I checked it again around like fungicide time, head blight time, I didn't really notice that there was a huge difference between the roots anymore, which kind of, it's been a learning curve for me to see kind of how this bacteria is going to survive in our soils. It was quite dry at the time, and so I think that the Bacillus ended up dying off, but it was kind of a good way to see what it's going to do to the roots and kind of start to play with it there. Does anyone have any questions on it? Okay, the next one that you might see is Trichoderma species. This is kind of a similar concept to the Bacillus species, where the main goal is kind of nutrient acquisition, and that comes from, once again, more fibrous roots. So pretty much what the Trichoderma is it's a fungus. It releases compounds that are going to alter the auxin levels in the roots, which is it's a hormone in the plant that kind of says it's time to grow. And as a result, it increases the root biomass. So you should see more fibrous roots in this as well. You're going to see this in products like the new Bionic, which I'm just about to talk about. And you see this in Quick Roots as well. So these are some field tests that I did in 2018. These are quick roots on corn. Corn responds really well to this type of thing. As you can see, the treated side ended up having a lot more fibrous roots. I was pretty happy with how it went. There was a lot more above ground matter as well, which is good for any silage, corn silage, guys. And then this is actually quick roots and jumpstart, which is what Bionic is now, but this was before they came out with Bionic. And there was even more benefits from adding the two of them together. And this is on corn as well. So just a close-up of the roots there. Yeah, so I'll talk about the Bionic products now. So there's two options. There's Bionic and then there's Tag Team Bionic. So Bionic is kind of like it's quick roots and jumpstart put together. You can get it as a wettable powder, and it's meant for crops like barley, canola or mustard, oats, rye, and wheat. I imagine you could probably use it on corn too. And it's just kind of that option of an inoculant for a field crop, whereas Tag Team Bionic has the rhizobia bacteria as well, and that's for peas and lentils. So these are kind of the newer products. Does anyone have any questions about those? Another thing that you could see in inoculants are mycorrhiza species, also known as AMF, if you've ever heard anybody talk about AMF. AMF stands for arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, so it's just kind of an abbreviated form of it. It's really well researched. We have this naturally occurring in our soils, but they're finding really nice benefits from adding it to the plant as well. And pretty much what this is, it's a fungus that infects the plant roots, and then it forms extra kind of like little fingers. And as a result, you're going to see higher nutrient uptake, higher water accessibility. And also when you pair it with rhizobia product, they call it tripartite symbiosis, which means that you're going to have more photosynthesis to kind of feed the rhizobia. And as a result, you're going to get more nitrogen. So your plants should be growing a lot more ferociously. And these are seen in the AgTiv products. So the AgTiv products are from Premier Tech. You can get them for pretty much all crops, except for they don't really have a canola one, is kind of what I found. The nice thing about it is, depending on the crop, you can get them in granular, liquid, or peat form. And you can either get straight rhizobia products, or you can get rhizobia and mycorrhiza products. I'm really excited for this, for example, for chickpeas, because I saw a really nice response from chickpeas and biostimulant type inoculants. And so this is an all-in-one product where you don't have to treat it a couple times. So another one that will respond really nicely to this will be flax. Flax and mycorrhiza really get along really well. And you'll see good responses from cereals as well. Any questions on those? I like the flexibility that they have. Like Bionic, you can only get it in the wettable powder, which some guys don't really want to deal with. And this, you can get it in granular. So I like the flexibility of that, depending on what guys' capabilities are and what their tanks can fill and things like that. So there's a lot of different factors that will affect how these inoculants are going to perform. If you have a heavy amount of disease, or if you have herbicide injury or any kind of nutrient deficiencies, you might see a decline in their performance, just because they kind of need healthy plants. They're kind of meant to add something to it, I guess. If you have really acidic soils, it'll become toxic for them, just because of the high aluminum or iron that's in acidic soils. So you're going to want to watch that. Higher organic matter, you're going to see better response from them. Dry conditions, depending on the strain of the inoculant, you might see a decline in their performance just from drought, because they need water just like anything to survive. Same with on flooding. Some of them don't perform well in anaerobic conditions, so you're going to want to watch any flooded areas. And you might see reduced nodulation in fields that have excessive nitrogen levels. But SAS Pulse has done research where it showed that you still see a benefit from inoculating in levels up to 100 pounds of nitrogen. I feel like they're a fit because they're an enhancement, not a replacement. So you're gonna see the best benefits from them if you put them on a very fertile soil. And you'll see a lot more bang for your buck, I guess, if your pH is greater than 7, just because of phosphorus availability. And that early season vigor is really reduced in cold soils. So cold soils could also be added on there. And I would just say there is a lot of products that contain these things on the market. And I would say when you're comparing products, make sure you look at the concentration of the active ingredient that's in them. A lot of the more reliable companies will put the actual amount of bacteria that you can expect, or the amount of spores that you can expect in the event of a fungus. So make sure you're looking into that. And make sure you watch out for seed treatment compatibility because, well, we treat our seed with fungicides and we're trying to inoculate with fungus, so it can be toxic. So you want to make sure that they're compatible as well so that you're not wasting your money. And this is just a summary of all the products that I talked about and what they contain based on the active ingredients and kind of what all of the active ingredients do. I'll just leave this up if anyone wants to take a picture of it or.
Kira, I think we might have a question.
Okay.
Chris, you raised your hand. Do you have a question for Kira?
Yes. You know, like some of the other inoculants, and they're all like a living, you know, biological product. So they all need to be treated as such, so that they're not, you know, either excessively warm or cold. And is there a limitation for how long the treated seed can be stored for?
Yeah, it'll depend on the product for the specifics on how long you can treat it and leave it treated for. And it will follow very similar rules to rhizobia bacteria, where you don't want to leave it in the hot sun. Direct sunlight is really bad for them. And you also don't really want them to freeze. So it's not something that you want to take unless you have heated storage as well. So it'll really depend on the specific product, but they have all of that information. So if there was one that specifically stood out to you, you could talk to Cassandra about it or me about it, and we can figure out when you could treat it. The granular ones, there's a lot more flexibility, and the ability of them is a lot higher. And then kind of like it goes down. So peat is a little bit better than liquid. Liquid kind of, you will want to treat it and then you'll want to seed it pretty quick.
Is there any sort of information that says that, you know, compares the liquid, which is obviously right on the seed, compared to granular, which, you know, yes, it's seed placed, but is it as effective because it's not necessarily attached right to the seed? Is there any research done on that?
Yeah, I have kind of tried it out with a couple different people, and I haven't seen a huge difference, but it really depends on the strain of, for example, rhizobia. Like some of them are a lot more mobile in the soil than others. So I know I saw really good mobility from the Lalimon Glalfix. I feel like you could put that inoculant pretty far away and it'll kind of swim to the seed, but you will see differences based on the strains of what you're using and how easily it'll move in the soil.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Also, typically you'll see with a granular inoculant that it'll have more it'll have more of the bacteria or the spore. That also depends on the product, but you'll have a lower dose on the liquid just because of the capabilities of the carrier. But I haven't seen a huge difference between them, honestly. It's just mostly survivability that I feel is the most important. So if you're able to treat it and seed it all at once, then whatever works for you kind of thing. If you have the extra tank space and you prefer just to kind of dump in the bag and go seed. It's kind of more like whatever's the most convenient for your farm. I haven't seen a huge difference in the field. Any other questions? And so just to summarize on the other inoculants, make sure you do your homework and understand the biology of the active ingredient that you're introducing to your seed. Start small and understand how these products are going to react in your soils, just because even amongst different fields, you're going to see different results. The best place to start is probably in your kind of best ground that you've been kind of maximizing your fertility on, because I think that's where you'll see the best bang. Remember to enhance, don't replace. This is something that you add to a full nutrition plan already. It's not meant to help you reduce your fertilizer. I don't think you'll see the results that you want from them in that situation. And another thing that I didn't add on here is typically you will see when you do have a better root system, you will see more response from foliar nutrition products as well. So if you are using those and you want to kind of get the most out of them, you might want to look at using something like this as well. And there are ones that you can spray on. I don't think they're quite as effective as the seed applied ones, but as I learned with Bacillus bacteria this year in dry conditions, it might be something that you want to repetitively apply to the field as well. So I'm hoping to do a lot more field tests this year to kind of play with them a little bit more and kind of understand how they're going to work in different soils. So if anybody is interested in trying anything, please feel free to let me know. With that, there's my information. If you have a question that you'd rather just email me or call me about, and there's my Twitter handle on the bottom. I tend to post my field test results as I'm seeing them throughout the season. So if you're interested in kind of watching those, and yeah, I'll leave it up for questions, concerns, comments, stories of experiences. Yeah, okay. Well, if anything ever comes up, feel free to reach out, and thank you so much for listening, and everyone have a great day.